me ask you something. Let me just gloat here for a second. Remember how Tim Pool was all like, civil war and, all that stuff. And then people were like, it's never going to happen. And then John Podesta suggested Joe Biden should encourage the West Coast to secede from the Union. And everyone said it's still not going to happen. And they said, when's it going to happen, Tim? Why don't you talk about it? I have a lot of people saying that since the election, Tim, you haven't been talking about civil war. Yes, I have. First, we are in fifth generational warfare, information war. If you want to gain control of resources, you need to control people. And you don't do that with force these days. You can. But these days, it's information war, propaganda and manipulation. It's why the media is lying about everything. And it's why there's hardcore Trump supporting communities. This is the battleground of our political civil war. I'll give you one simple example. Judge Sullivan and Michael Flynn. I know maybe you're not super familiar with it, maybe a little bit esoteric, hard to follow. Michael Flynn was coerced into pleading guilty to something that made literally no sense, lying to the FBI, even though he wasn't under a formal investigation and it was an informal conversation. They threatened his family if he didn't plead guilty, so he did. When Bill Barr came in, when Trump finally got past the Russiagate stuff, they tried to dismiss the case. The DOJ did. Bill Barr said, we're going to get rid of this. Judge Sullivan said no. Whoa. Wasn't that weird? That is political civil war. When you have a former national security advisor for Trump, the acting national security advisor, I believe he actually was at one point. They're trying to put him in prison and he's a general. Let me just stop and explain something very, very simply and break everything down. One side, one faction was trying to put a former general in prison. One side was trying to keep him out. You see what this is? They're trying to lock someone up, and it was completely arbitrary why they were trying to do it. This is fifth generational warfare, convincing you Trump had done something wrong while locking up someone who dared oppose the establishment elites. My understanding is that Michael Flynn kind of ratted out Obama for supplying resources to really awful groups in the Middle East. I'll put it that way. Terror groups. And so they went after him, and Trump defended him. That's political civil war. But let me slow down for y'all. And I think we're going to do a bigger segment on this later today. When you have right now officially one state filing suit and 4 more joining, and now there's rumors that many more states will join as soon as the Supreme Court accepts this. What happens when you have 20 states challenging the presidential election? We got fighting in the streets. We've got the Supreme Court battles of the election. You've got many states lining up against other states. What happens if Texas files suit and the Supreme Court says we accept it? Let's hear it. And then all of a sudden, a wave of more states come in and say we're joining the suit. And then what happens when a bunch of other states join, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Georgia, and say we're joining them? Or they'll file amicus briefs or whatever, however it works, in defense of or rejecting or fighting back or even suing these other states. Political civil war. I am not saying that Texas is going to send in the National Guard to other states. I'm saying the states are lining up against each other in fifth generational warfare. Now, final thought on this. Last night, Will Chamberlain told me that he didn't think the Supreme Court would take this up because possibly, they wouldn't want to open the door to this kind of serious state against state tensions and battle. And I said, if you have 8 states that are demanding to be heard and 74 million people who are lined up behind them, and the Supreme Court says, we refuse to hear what you have to say, you have just disenfranchised those states. And that could be substantially worse. People want to be heard. They want their complaints heard. And if you tell them no, they'll feel powerless. And then they'll say, then why bother? But if you hear them out, even if they lose, at least they'll feel they had their chance. We'll see. Stick around. Next segment.